Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities weekly podcast, Behind Black Business. And tonight we have two special guests. We have one of our board members, Doris Lewis, and Sister Erica Muhammad, who's going to be talking to us about contract. 20 and this people in this city. And so I want to thank you, Doris, for the work that you're doing. And I want to thank you, Sister Erica, for the work that you're doing. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. As you know, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, we're a nonprofit organization, and we came together to try to do something as what's happening, what we're talking about tonight, about Chicago and the plight of Black people in this city. And we're looking at some of the problems that we're having and trying to figure out how can we do something about this. And the best way we felt to do something about this was to support our Black businesses. Our Black businesses have the ability to help us circulate dollars in our communities. We have, as we say every week, we have so many people who open up businesses in our communities and they do not give back. They're totally extracting all of the dollars, all of the resources out of our communities and taking them to other places. And so it's and anyone can see why our communities are in the condition that they're in. They're just under-resourced across the table. And so with our businesses, they are able to help us circulate dollars by hiring Black people because they're more likely to hire Black employees. They are more likely to contribute to causes in the community, give other Black entrepreneurs opportunities in their establishments, receive services from other Black businesses, and most of all, serve as role models to our children and to other aspiring people who want to open up businesses. So supporting our Black businesses is very important. And so with this organization, we have raised dollars to help businesses get websites up. We have fought to help keep businesses open. We have been working very hard with our Black bookstores in Chicago. If you go to our website at rrgbc.org, we have all of the bookstores that are listed here in Chicago on our website. And in greater support of our bookstores, we feature a bookstore on our website every month. And so for this month, the bookstore that we're featuring is Frontline. And Frontline presence, frontlinebookpublishing.com. The phone number is 847-905-0181, and that's frontlinebookpublishing.com. And also with Frontline, as we do every month, we have the bookstore to select a book of the month. And the book of the month and opinions of Marcus Garvey, volumes 1 and 2. Very important books. And we have a book giveaway. And this is the book that is going to be given away this month to one of our subscribers. And all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe. At the end of the month, we will select a winner, and that person will receive these 2 volumes at our expense. Why do we do this? Because we want to support our bookstores, because we want our people reading, and we want our people reading about our history and about our perspectives. I'm starting to see some of our politicians starting to make a move in addressing the issue of our literature. Right here in Chicago or in the state, the libraries, I believe, are going to be carrying archives now of special Black uh, books and articles and items that have been written about Black people. So our history from our people, from our perspectives, is very important. And we have a lot of new authors out here. A lot of people are writing books now. And so we are definitely in support of our Black bookstores. And then lastly, the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, which is a Black owned bank at 55th and Wentworth, who was founded on the basis of Black people not getting the financial resources that they needed. And so they opened, and they have been giving loans for homes, cars, financial literacy programs for people in our community. And in order for a banking institution to stay open, we have to have accounts. So we're asking that you go to the Southside Community Federal Credit Union and support them, at the very least, by opening up an account. And so one more thing that I did not mention, going back to our bookstores, is we want our public schools and our public libraries to give contracts to our Black bookstores. There are certain publishers that have major contracts, and they're providing all of the books to our public schools. It's time to divvy up. And that's what this program is about tonight. That's what this Black contract is about tonight. And that is divvying up the resources. And so if you go to Save Black Bookstores in Chicago at change.org, that's Black Bookstores in Chicago at change.org, and sign that petition. We will be talking to some of our local political officials. I've already spoken to some about it, who have expressed an interest and is willing to support us on this matter. So we're asking you to go and sign that petition so that we can get contracts to our Black bookstores. So those are just some of the things that we're doing here. We're a small group of people, but we're trying to make a difference. So let's get to our topic of tonight. And again, we have Sister Doris Lewis, who is one of our board members here at rrgbc.org, and Sister Erica, who is here to talk to us tonight about contract with Black Chicago 2023. So I'm going to start out with letting Doris tell us what this contract with Black Chicago 2023 is all about.
Good evening, family, and thank you so much for joining us. This contract with Black Chicago 2023 was put together specifically for Black people. Sister Erica and I, over a year and a half or so ago, we started talking about this, and we started talking about the upcoming election. And so in our conversations, because we had many of them, and so in our conversations, we started talking about, we need to put together something and give to these politicians. And because we can no longer continue to vote and not give politicians an agenda, because we're the only people, we're the only race of people that will do that, what that will do that, that continues to do that, election after election, whether it's the presidential election, it's the gubernatorial election, the oral election, or the manic election. We are the only people who just elect these people, and we don't give them an agenda. So we said that we must change this. Got to be a paradigm change, and
Mhm.
we've got to come up with our own narrative. And no one can define our narrative better than us. And when I say us, I mean Black people, the Black community. No one can define our narrative. But over the years, we have allowed other people to define our narrative. So this is why we put it together. And the contract is based on about 13 or 14 different agencies of the Chicago governmental agencies with the city of Chicago. And as everyone knows, Brandon Johnson is the newly elected a mayor for the city of Chicago, a young Black family man, a young Black brother. So just because, and we've come to the conclusion too, that just because someone is Black, we can no longer just vote for them because they're Black and not hold them accountable. And because everyone has an agenda for these politicians when they come before them. In fact, it's become disrespectful when it comes to politicians seeking the Black vote. They just go into the church or they go into wherever we congregate in a large number, and they start talking about, well, I'm running, but they never ask us, what do you expect from me? And we never say to them, we expect this or we expect that. We say nothing. We just go out and vote. So we put together these 13 or 14 agencies. And one agency is, we started with the Chicago Board of Education. I'm a former teacher, a former counselor, as well as Denise. And at one point, we had 45% of the teaching population in Chicago were Black teachers. We're down to 20%. And going, who knows, it may be lower than 20%. But when I put this contract together, it was 20%. But the Black student population makes up 36% of the population. So the Black teachers make up only 20%. Now that doesn't, that's the Black teachers. It's not, we're not talking about Black counselors or nurses, social workers, and other ancillary staff. So we said, okay, if we are 29, and I base that percentage on the census, the U.S. census, census that's done by white folks, because people tend to believe things when white folks put stuff together. So according to the United States Census, as of July, was it 2021, the Black population in Chicago is 29%. Because if you've been listening to these figures over the last couple of years, you would think that the Hispanic population is the largest population. But according to the United States Census, the Black population is in Chicago is 29 point some percent, and the Hispanic is 28%. So we're saying, okay, if we make up 29% of the population, then with the Board of Education, that should be reflected. 29% of the teachers with the Chicago Board of Education should be Black. 29% of the counselors, the nurses, and the entire ancillary staff. And we presented
So, Sister Doris, what you're talking about, making these resources equitable,
equitable, absolutely.
which is something that I don't think has ever been done
Mm-mm.
in this
No.
city. With when you look at all of the resources across the board,
Mhm.
there's a smaller group of people that have been getting the majority of the
That's
resources, which is kind of reflective of what happens in the country,
right.
you know. And so we're talking about a true paradigm shift here.
A serious paradigm change. Now, the Chicago Board of Education is a $9.3 billion agency. $9.3 billion.
That's right.
So let's just think about it. It's a $9.3 billion agency. If you were to bring that 20% of Black teachers up another 9%, we're talking about jobs. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about employment. We're talking about stabilizing the Black community if people have jobs. And as all of us know, so many of the schools on the south and the west sides of Chicago have been closed. And what did that do? That created an economic downfall, so to speak, because these people had.
And how many Black teachers was it about that lost their
Well,
jobs?
I've heard from 7,000 to 14,000,
Uh-huh,
but it's a lot
uh-huh.
of Black teachers that who lost their jobs.
Now, what's interesting about your saying they have a new budget out, and Sister Erica, you feel free to chime in here. I guess before I make my comment, if you would like to say something, because we're definitely happy that you were able to come tonight.
Now, Denise, this new
Can Sister Erica hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you
now,
hear me?
Denise, this
Okay.
new budget now, this 9.3 billion is a part of that new budget.
Right. And I was looking at that. I was kind of looking at that budget, and they're talking about how they want to divvy it up. And they were talking about hiring 524 new teachers. And 8% of the funding to increase they've increased it from last time to 8%. And they're talking about putting money into programming, professional development. We know what that's all about. Uh, Enhancing the learning environment, uh, equity grants, money to go to smaller schools. I often say the dirt is in the details.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And these kind of things that they're talking about, what they want to do with the money is where I think the eyes are going to definitely have to shift towards
Okay,
and see
yeah,
what they're actually doing with those
yeah,
dollars.
but whatever they do with those dollars, these different programs that you just mentioned, we need to focus on pushing them to hire Black teachers. Yeah, we
Hmm.
have all these different programs, but we're talking about hiring Black teachers, and that goes through
Hmm.
personnel. This is so we're being very, very specific because they always come up with this kind of program and that kind of program, but we're focusing on them hiring Black teachers. Bring that 20% up to 29%.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know you came through the civil rights movement. And I know something like this had to come to the table when they were talking about letting Black students into schools, hiring Black people into a lot of these government jobs. Um, do you know how that was approached?
Well,
Uh,
when integration came about in Mississippi, I was a part of that integration in 1969 in Mississippi. That was one of the worst things that could have happened, integrating the schools, not only just in Mississippi, but across the country, because that is when the decline of Black teachers began, because the schools were the schools were not really, they were integrated in terms of white children being in the building and Black children being in the building, but Black and white children were not in the same classroom when integration started in Mississippi. They were not in the
mhm.
same classroom. I'll never forget this little town where I worked. My first job was Carthage, Mississippi. The white kids were in the building, the Black kids were in the building, but we were not in the same room. I had an all Black class. The white
Did they have Black
Yeah, they had
teachers?
Black teachers. I was one of the Black teachers there. They had Black teachers, and they had white teachers, but the white teachers taught the white kids and we taught the Black kids. In fact, I'll never forget
Okay.
an incident. I'm taking my kids to the bathroom. And so the white teacher's standing there with her children. And I told my kids to go on in. And she said, no, they can't go in while my children are in there. I said, well, then they're going in. So you better pull your children out. So it was so much, it was not integration. We're in the same building, but those kids were not in the same classroom together. And as I said, when that took place, integration, that's when the decline of Black teachers started to go down, and it has not stopped.
So now, and either you or Sister Erica could address this. There have been studies to show the effect of having Black teachers in the classroom, in the building with our with our
Well,
children.
well, studies show that if Black students have one Black teacher, there's a 13% chance of those children going on to college, just having one Black teacher. That's the data. That's the data that's current today.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to
Mm-hmm.
show the significance of Black children having Black teachers, because Black teachers, if they're conscious, they're going to have a different approach when it comes to dealing with our children. They're going to push our children harder. They're going to be more specifically interested in our children as opposed to white teachers. 82% of the teachers in America are white teachers. And most of the children in the public school system across America are Black or other non-white.
And see again, when I go back to the dirt and the details, they're also boasting as they talk about this budget about the increase in the graduation rate, the decrease in the dropout rate, so basically trying to say, what they're doing and what they have uh, is having an impact.
Well,
And so that's
yeah, the proof is in the
like,
pudding. The proof is in the pudding when it comes to Black teachers, because we
mm-hmm,
didn't have the social problems that we have in our schools today when we had a large percentage of Black teachers and tenured Black
mm-hmm,
teachers. So all of these social issues and social problems that we're having in our schools today, it is directly related to not having enough Black teachers in these schools. That's a fact, a fundamental fact. And so
sure.
that's why it's so important that we get on the Board of Education, stay on the Johnson administration, and push them to hire more Black teachers, more Black counselors, because our children are having all kinds of social and emotional problems.
Mm-hmm,
And we don't
mm-hmm,
have enough Black counselors. We don't have enough Black
right.
psychologists to deal with these problems.
Right. Now,
And
Sister Erica,
also
what do you have to say about all of this?
having a Black teacher for our children, it also instills, it motivates them. It gives them, the courage to deal with this white supremacist world, this systemic white supremacy that they have to face every day.
Right.
It builds them up, letting them know that they can reach higher heights. It's not all about you, playing an inferior role. You can be whatever you want to be. And most times a white teacher is not going to instill those types of values in our children. It's just they're not going to pour the love in them that they would do for a white child. It's a difference. It's a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why so many people are going to homeschooling,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
because of that.
Right. And you know what?
And even with the children that have
Right.
disabilities, a lot of parents, while they want their children to progress to the best of their ability, but they know they're going to be dependent on them for the rest of their lives. And but a lot of them are even more concerned, the parents, that those children are being loved, that those children are being cared for, that they're in an
Exactly.
environment during the day where somebody really cares about them.
Exactly. And then the curriculum is another thing. The children they don't want to learn the same lies that we learned coming up, that Christopher
Sure.
Columbus discovered America, and Black people were only slaves. That they do not want to hear. They want to hear something that makes them feel good about themselves. You know,
Absolutely.
they don't want to sit around listening to white people's history all day. So that's a
Absolutely.
difference as well. The curriculum has
Absolutely.
changed.
And the bottom line and the reality that we must accept and face, they're not going to teach our children to compete with theirs.
Exactly.
They're not going to do that.
Hmm.
I mean, history has
Hmm.
shown us this. I don't. We, this blueprint has been out there for 500 years or more. They are not going to teach our children to compete against their children. They're just not going to do it. So that's why it's even more significant. It's even more important now. If we're not going to take our children out of these schools and homeschool our children ourselves, then we have got to we've got to push to get Black teachers back into this school system. As I said, across America,
Okay.
82% of the teachers are white.
And I was sharing with Sister Doris when we were talking about how they fired all of the black teachers. They didn't
Yes.
relocate them to the Hispanic community. They didn't relocate them to the white community, to the Asian community, but they feel comfortable bringing people from these communities to teach our children.
Hmm.
See,
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. How can you get rid of thousands of teachers? You don't even think to send them nowhere else so they can keep food on their table? No. But they'll
Now,
be
those
quick to
teachers,
send
what
them.
happened to those black? What happened to those black teachers was definitely horrendous. It was a horrendous thing because I know many teachers that got caught up
Hmm.
in that. Their schools closed. They end up in schools, and they weren't able to use their tenure to go get another job. The union did not protect them,
Exactly.
and they got caught up. And it was interesting just seeing some of them go to different schools and go through these crazy interviews. That just had anybody in the school, case manager, so forth, interviewing some of these teachers and all the questions that they asked them. And if they couldn't find a placement by a certain period of time, they were out.
And
And
And you know what else too? If you notice the schools now, where I think in Inglewood it was an all boys school, and they had a nearly a 100% graduation rate at this high school.
talking about urban.
Exactly. And they were doing well. And look what they did. They came right in, removed the principal, take the teachers out, replace them with white people. Whenever they see our children thriving in an environment, they always have to come and make it chaotic and disrupt it. And that is the things that has to stop. It has to stop. We must protect our children. When we see our
That's
children are doing well, we don't allow nobody to come in and disrupt it. I don't care what their excuse is.
that's
And
right.
you know, out
That's
of
right.
out of
And
all of these agencies, all of these 13 agencies, the Department of Education is the most powerful. It is the most
absolutely,
significant one because
absolutely,
it has the minds of our children. This is the most
absolutely.
powerful department, and that is why. And we really do need to be focusing on this. And as Sister Erica
And
said, when all of these teachers got displaced, they didn't send them back into the black community. They sent everybody else. But let me tell you, the Asians do not want black teachers in their schools. The
no,
Hispanics do not want black
That's
teachers in
right.
the schools. And the whites do not want black teachers in the schools. And it's time for black people to wake up and be realistic and accept this for what it is and start fighting back. We
Yeah.
and see this whole paradigm, this type of pattern, we're talking about it in the schools. We haven't even gotten away from the first area,
That's
which
what
is
I was
education here.
digging it in.
But
Yeah.
but when you look at this, like we're talking about the
Yeah.
businesses, it's the same thing.
Mhm.
These are people who come into our community, they open up businesses, they extract dollars from our community, but you can't go into their community in the same shape, form, and fashion and set up a business because they won't support you.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
That's
we were
basically, and so it's all across the board. And the other point I want to make as we talk about this percentage, again, as I say, the dirt is in the details. You have to look, you have to be you have to scrutinize what they do with those dollars because the Chicago Public Schools, they get a huge budget and they come up with these programs, and but you are not seeing where those dollars are
Yeah, no.
actually going.
Mhm.
So they talking about hiring a little over 500 new teachers. They're talking about doing dealing with diverse learners. They're talking about dealing with trauma. They're talking about dealing with safety. Um, and they're talking about dealing with all of these different things in our community and the schools. And so we have to pay attention to where those dollars go. If they're gonna hire 500 and something teachers, that's a place to look at. Who are those teachers? If they're going to be spending money towards the smaller schools, well, our some of our schools have very low enrollments,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so we have to follow where they're going to go with that, where they're going to go with that
And
money.
you know what? All of this now, this is on us now. It is on us.
Mhm.
We're going to have to be talking to the aldermen. We're going to have to be talking to Brandon Johnson. We're going to have to come together and send a loud, serious message to these people that we're not playing with you anymore. We're not
And
playing
yeah,
with you. We're not accepting it. We're not accepting the old BS anymore. That day is over. And
yeah.
I'll say to Black people, it is on us because the system is going to continue to do what the system does. The system wants us out of the system if that's possible. So it's going to have to be on us. Now, the closing down of the schools, all of that was a part of leading to what we have now, and that's charter schools. Charter
Hmm.
schools. And charter schools is about making money. If somebody comes in here and sets up a charter schools, we are paying for that. And if that school is not, if it's successful or not, they still make money off and making money. And they get like a
That's right.
29% tax break. This is about dollars and cents and our children. And so it is on Black people. And that's why we put this blueprint together. It's on.
Now, when you mentioned the aldermen, it made me think about these 13 or 14 different areas that you're focusing on here. And many of these are adjacent to the committees.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they have more. They
Yeah.
have added more
Yeah.
committees
Yeah.
on to the
Uh-huh.
council now.
Right.
But many of these are parts of
Various
committees
committees. Right.
with
Correct.
chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to the next one, which is the Chicago Police Department
Oh,
and the $1.9 billion budget that they have.
right. Right. And 50
So can you
percent.
speak on that?
Sister Erica, jump in whenever you want to too.
Can I
Yes,
say this?
Go ahead.
Just talking about the aldermen, because I was speaking to Sister Doris about this the other day. It's time for us to address them because we always go after the mayor and
hmm
but see, these aldermen, they have allowed themselves to be used as tools to bring in all these foreign business owners into our communities. So it's time to lean on these aldermen and tell them, we don't want you opening no more Arab, Chinese, and all of these, Mexican stores in our communities anymore. We want to be allowed to get these grants. These banks, if they want to operate in our communities, they must give us loans. Just as what it's the same as they do for them. How is it that they can come right in the country and just get set up overnight? They get all of these
All
tax
the
breaks, they get all of the grants, they get all of the loans. How is that? And we've been here forever. It just,
And
it's beyond me.
because
when you look at the violence, we've all seen what's going on, what's playing out downtown. Now, people have always gone downtown and like to go downtown and look at the buildings and look at the lakefront. We have a full downtown, but come to our communities and look at our communities. Other people have communities that are saturated with stores, with restaurants that they can go to, clothing stores they can go to, entertainment with theaters and clubs and different things that they can go to, centers. One of the biggest things they created when they started building up that West Loop was a big indoor ice skating rink for hockey.
Yep.
I mean, took up almost a whole block. Bringing in they built up the music program down there at Mary Music, put millions of dollars into that. Oprah put a lot of money into it, but it was for those children uh, um, who were moving
Chinatown,
into the
in
community.
in the white community.
That's right. That's right. So I told Doris the story of the young man that I worked with at CVS High School, and he told me he was going downtown for the first time. And I was amazed that he had never been downtown before. So when I saw him the next week, I said, "Did you go downtown?" He said, "Yeah, I did." And I said, "So what did you think? What was your experience?" And he said, "Everybody was so happy."
Right.
That's what he saw. But when he comes home and he goes through his community, that's not his experience. That's not what he's seeing. Because a lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people are traumatized. A lot of people are being under resources. And from our organization working with our businesses, a lot of our business people are working very hard out here.
So,
And they're not getting the same level of economic support that other businesses, those bridge loans that help them to get from this month to next month, because every business has an up and down slow period.
yeah.
So all of this, again, it's about resources, putting resources into our communities so we can empower us to help ourselves.
Mhm.
We start talking about programs, my skin starts to crawl, because it's like, okay, here's another program.
Because
What is that?
because these businesses cannot come into these communities without the approval of the aldermen.
That's
And
right.
before these people leave their countries, they have
Mhm.
they have organized, they have discussed, and they've talked about where we're going to go. And
That's right.
it's a fact that if you come to America, you have a business, set it up in the Black community.
And that's right.
Everybody is eating off our plates but us. That is on us. And this is a serious issue, and we're going to have to be drastic. It's going to have to be some drastic changes. We're going to have to do some drastic things because they're not going to let go easily. So
and
we're going
see
to
and
have
see
to fight.
getting back to these aldermen, each one, like I said, each one of these, there is a committee for education,
Yep.
there is a chairperson
Oh,
over
that's right.
education,
Mhm,
there
mhm.
is a committee, I'm sure, for safety, or has something to do with the
Absolutely.
police
Police
department, which I'd
committee.
like to
Mhm.
for you to expound on a little bit there with the police department, because during this election we were between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
We had the Chicago Teachers Union on one hand, and then we had the
Right. Right.
police union on the other hand. So will
Well,
you talk to
let
us a
me just
little bit about the police department?
let me just go back to the education. Education. The white students only make up 10% of the system. 10%. And over 50% of the teachers are white. So you can see that imbalance, that inequity there. Let's come to the police department. 51%, over 50% of the policemen are white, 25% are Hispanic, and 21% are Black. So you can see Hispanics that we've been here how many years, and Hispanics are surpassing us. All of that is by design. These are serious conversations that we're going to have. And we're saying the same thing applies to the police department. If we're 29% of the population, we want that the police representation of Black policemen to come up to 29%. The sergeants, the captains, or whatever the various department heads that they have. We want it to reflect the population. Again, that's going to create jobs.
Right.
We're talking about equity and parity. These are jobs that they will be creating that can help take care and sustain Black families. I mean, the disparity in all of these departments are just
And see,
unbelievable.
if we go back to the civil rights movement, and we look at the fact that we wanted equity, we wanted equality, so we wanted more Black people, in these positions. We're in a little bit of a different space now, because we want more Black people, but we also have to add that layer that we
Right.
lost in terms of our concern and
Right.
commitment towards the development of our
Mhm.
people in our communities. Because, like you said, during integration, we started running
Yeah.
away, moving into and not holding on,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we realized how damaging this was.
Mhm.
we get more Black people on the table and doing this for us, but they have to be committed to the people and to our community and our culture.
And as we hire these people, as these people come on board, we've got to let them know, you know what, we fought for you to get here, and we are going to
That's
hold
right.
you accountable. I
That's
mean,
right. And
I'm not just talking
it's
about
not just a job. It's
not
not
just
just a
a
job.
commitment.
It
Mhm.
is a commitment here that you're making because of what happened. And that impact of that rights movement is still relevant today.
It's absolutely relevant. I mean, so with the police
It's
department,
right there.
I think the more policemen our children see, I think they would have a better chance of dealing with our children than the white policemen or the
Hmm.
Hispanics or whatever race of people that there are, because these people do not respect us. They do not care. So if we're bringing more brothers and sisters to the police department, they have to understand you are here to represent your community. You are not to do like the
That's right.
policeman did in Memphis, Tennessee, beat this young brother to death. That's not why we're asking for you to be hired. We don't want you to
That's
become
right.
an agent of white supremacy. That's not the whole purpose of having
Yeah,
you.
that's exactly what a lot of them do. They get in there with that same mindset and they blend right in with the rest of them.
No, we don't want
And
any
Sister
agent.
Erica, that's because it's just a job to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The commitment to their people is not there. And that's the discussion that we have to have. It's
Yeah,
I did
right,
what I got for me and mine.
right.
yeah.
Muhammad Ali said, me, we, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and they've got to have a commitment. They've
And
got to
see,
understand the importance.
this is a part of that narrative. Commitment is a part of that narrative. Being concerned about your people is a part of the narrative. And that's the conversation
Hmm.
we're going to have to start trying to spread throughout all of these, every ward where we have a Black alderman. I mean, I think we got 20 Black aldermen now. We cannot sit back and let all of these, I think about 13 new Black aldermen, we've got to get to them. We cannot let them become the Jason Urbans. We cannot
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
We have got to get to these people. And Carrie Austin, we cannot let them become those kinds of people representing us. They have to understand you don't stand up and speak up and for Black people, you will be out. It can be a revolving door. We can easily do that. So that's the narrative that we got to push going forward.
Hmm.
And you know what's the biggest part? And I always say this to Sister Doris, we always gonna be fighting. That's
Oh,
no doubt.
always.
But we have to get to the
Didn't we
point
say
where
that
we
at the
have to
beginning?
build.
Yeah, we said that at the beginning.
We
Yeah.
said that
We
before the
don't
show started.
we will always be fighting, but we have to get to the point where we start building. You
Hmm.
see, we need to go over there to that Southside Credit Union and open an account
That's
just
right.
for building. You
Yeah.
know, for
Right.
building. We shouldn't have to worry about Walmart closing or
No,
Whole
That's right.
Foods closing.
absolutely.
We should have a fund that's set up where if that happens, we can go right in. We already got a relationship with the banks and whatever. We need to start lining these things up. It
Right.
don't make no sense that we always have to go out and protest when, if we're going to control our narrative, we have to control our environment, our immediate environment. If we need a gas station, we need to put it there. If we need a grocery store, we need to put it there.
Mhm.
See
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And so that I'm out, we're gonna be fighting forever, but we have to
Mhm.
build in the process.
I mean, that's the
Right.
reality. That's the reality of where we are, where we've always been. And
That's right.
and send this message to these aldermen, to the mayor. You don't take any more TIF money and bring in these investors, and like they did with Inglewood. I knew that store, Whole Foods, was not going to stay in Inglewood. That was Rahm Emanuel's buddies, these
Yeah,
investors, and they gave them all that money, and they
yeah,
get that money up front, and now they're gone. The same thing with Walmart. They want to say it's about stealing. Well, you know how to handle people stealing. You put all those checkouts in that store, and that was for the purpose of getting rid of bodies. So if
exactly.
all the stealing is going on at the checkouts, move the damn checkouts. That's all you
Well,
got to do.
when you
20 years and that lease is up, and they made all those billions of dollars, and they're ready to go.
That's just
and
like
see when
Target.
you I'm sorry, go ahead, Sister Erica.
No, I was just saying that was just like that Target over there on what is that, like 83rd and
Oh,
Cottage
on
Grove?
Cottage, on
Mhm.
Cottage.
They got all of that money, and they said they made the point to say they're going to move after Christmas.
Yep.
Mhm.
They made their money. They made their money. But you know,
And you look as I look at this contract, it's everything is billions and millions of dollars.
our tax
Everything is
dollars.
billions. The police department, $1.3 billion budget. The Chicago Fire Department, $483.4 million budget. The Chicago Department of Transportation, $1.75 billion budget.
No, we're
Chicago
talking.
Housing Authority, $1.2 billion budget. So here we have a budget of dollars that are coming from our government, that are coming from our taxes, that are going to these different departments,
Yep.
again, that we have down at the city council,
Right.
that are chaired by many of our aldermen, and looking at these budgets, and we need Black people in
And,
these
and I
jobs.
think
And
that the
We
budget,
are financing our own oppression.
absolutely.
And taxation without representation is tyranny.
that's
And you
right.
know, I think
That's
that
right.
budget is $16 billion. And what we were able to accomplish with this contract, we got much farther than we thought we would get. But it did make people start thinking. And we were emphasizing
Sure.
the fact that these are your tax dollars.
That's right.
These people are not giving you this money. These are your tax dollars. 75%
Yeah.
of the fire department are white, and they only make up
Hmm.
33% of the population. I mean, look at these.
Well,
And
we
that
have
another
seen, and
thing,
we have seen the firemen,
Yeah,
we have seen the Black firemen fight for those jobs. You know,
absolutely.
they have been successful to
Ezra
a certain
McCain.
extent, but
Ezra
we have
McCain.
seen them play out right here on the news in the media,
Ezra
fighting
McCain. That's
for
right.
their position.
And blacks only make up 12%, Hispanic 15%, white 75%. Again, Hispanics are surpassing us. Something is wrong with that picture. They're surpassing us
Mhm.
because their people are working for them.
Mhm.
you see what Alderman Byron Lopez just did for the Hispanics that got kicked out of that flea market. He went and found them another location at the old site of the Kmart.
Mhm.
I think that's over there on Damon or Kedzie,
Mhm.
one of them. He went over there and found them another building. Now he went and got money funds for them to fix it up, and he's bringing them over there. That's what an alderman
That's
does
what
for
they're
their
supposed to
community.
do.
See, that's what a real alderman does. These people that we have in our, that's represent our wards, all they do is whine. They whine more than the constituents. They don't do anything to make any power moves to get us
They,
any further. It seems like everybody that signed a contract to
well, you
sell
Well,
know
us
we
out.
that.
have, now you also have down here the Chicago Department of Building, which is a $37 million budget. And if you have a business and and they send inspectors out,
Yep.
they can close you down.
They
And
can.
our organization went to battle helping a preschool over on the west side who
Mhm.
called in for them to look at the roof, and it was determined that it was safe to keep the preschool open, but this particular area had to be taken care of. And a black inspector came out. We were told that she was not nice. She shut the school down, and then there was all of this stalling going on down at the Chicago Department of Buildings.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we called the aldermen, we couldn't get help. you know Everybody was passing the buck, but we managed to persevere, and that preschool is still there. We actually believe that they were trying to push them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
And
too
you know,
often, still too many going up. And I'm not against church, but too many churches, on the opposite corner of where the preschool was, where there used to be a little shopping mall there, right there at the Fifth City on the west side. There was a little mall in there with a little grocery store and the currency exchange. The whole thing got closed down, and the church is there.
And that's why it's so important. It's so significant that Black people start organizing in each one of these wards. Go down to that city council, raise hell. I mean, do whatever is necessary to get what we're entitled to. We have to make these people fear us. See, they don't fear
Mhm.
us.
No.
This has gone on for so long until nobody fears us. But we just got a newly elected alderman for the Fifth Ward, Mr. Yancey. We are not going to be trying. We're going to get a meeting with Mr. Yancey. He did meet with us. We shared this contract. He was all for it. And as I said to him at that meeting, just like I will work to help you get in, I will work to help you get out. And I'm very serious about that. He is the alderman of the Fifth Ward. We want economic development for Black people, not Arabs, not Asians, nobody else. It stops.
Mhm.
If we're talking about businesses, we want Black businesses. We want you to get the money. We want you to do whatever is necessary to bring Black businesses into the Fifth Ward. We got to be very
Well,
drastic.
when you talk about the businesses, there's again another committee here on your contract, the Chicago Department of Planning and
Absolutely.
Development.
Mm-hmm.
And this department is the principal planning agency for the city of Chicago. It provides financial assistance for business
Mm-hmm.
development efforts and quality of life for local neighborhoods. This
Absolutely.
is a very important committee.
Very important.
The
Very
people, the
important.
residents need to know about this committee and what this committee is doing. The
Mm-hmm.
businesses need to
Mm-hmm.
know about this committee and what this committee is doing. Who is the chair of this committee?
Absolutely. So
See, this is what makes all of this so relevant because
relevant.
these are things that we need to know.
Hmm. And it's, as a people, we cannot continue to complain. We have got to fight. We've got to be in their faces as often as necessary. Otherwise, we're not going to get anything because we're not demanding anything. This is about our children's future.
That's
This is
right.
not about us, it's about our children's future. So, what are we leaving for our children?
Well,
The
it's
air,
about us too, because
that's
we're
true.
gonna be here. We're outliving many of our children.
Yeah,
And it's about our quality of
yeah.
life,
You got the
as
Arabs,
we age.
you got the Arabs, they hire their people. You got the Asians. I mean, they're very arrogant. I got to hire Denise, we've experienced it with our
Mhm.
RRGBC. I've got to hire my son. Well, hell, you need to go back to China or down to Chinatown and open up your business. But this is just how arrogant they are because we have allowed it. You
And
see,
it's beyond arrogance. It's the way they operate.
yep.
You know, breathing air. We have to hire our people because
Mhm,
they understand this is
mhm.
how this works. Stop doing this over here and start hiring you, then we can't, develop the way we're trying.
And
So,
we're saying to the Black community too, find a Black nail salon. There are Black nail salons in Chicago. Okay, you may have to take
mhm,
a 3 or 4 blocks beyond your house, but we're talking about economic development so that our communities can look like their communities, so that they can hire our children, our young people. This is about our mere survival. So that
mhm,
means we're going to have to sacrifice. We're going to have to go out of our way. And as I said, they're Black nail shops. We have Black businesses in the Black community, just not enough.
mhm.
But we've got to support our Black businesses and stop coming up
That's
with that
right.
nonsense where, they charge too much. Well, if with the Asians, you got 15 people living in one house, you can afford to lower your price.
That's right.
That's the bottom
That's right.
line there.
That's right. And then
You know
there's
what?
and then there's your Department of Public Health.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and that $3.2 billion budget we saw during COVID already in treatment in terms of community. Spent all of that money building out McCormick Place over here,
Right.
and nobody ever got to go.
Yep.
And they never showed up.
We had the doctor on the radio at Roseland Hospital over here begging for the
Help.
medications, and so we've got disparities there. And that's another committee that is also on the chaired by the alderman, so these different committees on this contract, if somebody wanted to see this contract, where could they go? Copy of this
Well,
contract,
they can
Doris?
they can call me at 312-543-7202, or they can email me at Lewis_Doris@sbcglobal.net, and I can get it out to you in a second.
Okay, that's great. Because this is about action, and this is
Absolutely.
about involvement. It really is not as much about who is in office as how we organize those
Absolutely.
people and make them address our issues. And I just see that across the board, even in the schools. If our parents would get more involved,
Yeah.
in what is going on in the schools. We can't just elect a person. That's just the first step.
And Denise, I just want to share this. It doesn't take a lot of people. Sister Erica and I worked on this, and we put
Mhm.
this together, and we get it out to thousands of people. Thousands of people.
Mhm.
People were loving this. People were coming
Mhm.
on board. It's a blueprint. And it had never been put out like this before. Yeah, we have agendas, but it had never been put out like this before. And when I was on WVON, the calls that I got from people asking for a copy of it, and they were just thrilled to get it's a blueprint. And just
We changed the mindset
mindset.
of our
Mhm.
Mhm.
people as
Mhm.
far as them voting just to vote.
Right.
That was the thing that I kept repeating. No longer can we vote without getting something in return. We can't do that
That's
anymore.
right.
All other communities, when these politicians come and ask them for their vote, they make demands
Mhm.
of them, and they honor those demands. But when it comes to the Black community, they come and do the electric slide with us, give us a turkey or a ham,
That's
take a
right.
picture
And
with the baby,
cheese.
and they don't see you no more. Right.
Get up in the
You know,
pulpit with the ministers.
exactly. So
Mhm.
if we we did change the mindset of Black people, because a lot of people started to come up with other
Right.
contracts, instead of them joining on to us. But even still, it's good that their mindset
Well,
is
now,
changing. But it was,
and the disappointment, Ballas didn't sign the contract, nor did Johnson sign the contract. But both of them had an agenda for the Hispanic. But that's
and I didn't
that's
vote for neither one of them. I said
that's okay.
in the beginning, I said if they don't sign the contract, they will not get my vote. And I did not deviate from that. I did
and,
not.
and and Mr.
Yeah.
No,
Johnson is in office now, and we're not going to allow you to forget. You have this contract. He has this contract. Erica put it in his hands. I put it in his hands, and we're going to hold him to it. And these aldermen, we're serious. We're not playing. Those days are over. This is a new paradigm. It's a new narrative, and we're going to push forward. We don't have a choice.
no more business as
We
usual.
don't have a choice.
Well, Doris and Sister Eric, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for coming on tonight. Like I said, it's time for people to get busy, and everyone can do something.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Black people out here doing something. There are a lot of Black businesses out here. So it's not like we don't have anything. We're just not coming together like we need to. And
And
so
Denise,
this
Yeah,
contract
you know
is
what? Y'all
the
get Tyron Smith on this show. So, because that's another component to the
right.
contract.
pardon me.
He has this thing down to a science. Brother Tyron Smith,
Okay.
he's the president of the National Block Club University. And I've been asking Sister Doris about this for a while, because what he has it's so, I mean, he's broke it down to a science, and it will empower us
Mhm.
financially. I mean, it will really, and it will connect us to the
Okay.
motherland,
Okay.
to the resources of the motherland.
Okay, I can
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you the information on him, Denise, and we can have him on whenever we have availability.
Absolutely.
But what we also
Absolutely.
want to say is for people to go to rrgbc.org and donate. This is a
That's right.
free board member organization, and we're going on 2 years, and we have
That's right.
helped many Black businesses in this city. So go
That's
to
right.
rrgbc.org and donate. If it's no more than $5, every penny counts. And I want to
Absolutely.
thank
And
everybody.
we also have an online store that you can purchase from that would help us with the work that we are doing. But yeah, you can go to our rgbc.org and you can donate. And we ask that you go to rgbc.org and become one of our subscribers. And you also have an opportunity to win Marcus Gar philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey. And so, with that, friends and family, I want to thank you for coming tonight. Doris and Sister Erica, I want to thank you for what you are doing. We all have to support each other. We all have work to do. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Denise, for all that you do as well.
Thanks for having me
Absolutely.
on. Y'all have a nice
Absolutely.
Good night. Good night to the family. We're off.